Do have one proclamation. Councilman Lopez, please read Proclamation 303.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm proud to read Proclamation 303, series of 2018. It has to be 303. This is old school, Denver. This is proclaiming our solidarity with March for Our Lives efforts and with the survivors of gun violence at home and across the nation. Whereas, on the afternoon of the 14th of February, 2018, a mass shooting occurred at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, and 17 teachers and students lost their opportunity to ever live, laugh, or love again. And whereas the victims of Stoneman Douglas High School were the most recent among the 496 victims of mass shootings in the past 10 years, and with Parkland being the most recent school shooting. And whereas, here in Colorado, we intimately understand the painful and devastating impact of mass shootings and gun violence in our communities. And whereas, on March 14th, school communities across this country, including tens of thousands of students right here in Denver and throughout Colorado, walked out of classrooms to send one message: enough. And whereas we are proud to see students leading decisively in this country to protect themselves and their educators, as well as to honor the voices of our students and school communities. The collective strength of their voices will prevail in the streets and in the voting booth, demanding that all lives are defended. And whereas 738 communities around the globe, including the Mile High city of Denver, will host the March for Our Lives events in Civic Center Park, Saturday, March 24th, 2018, from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m., to advocate that student and educator lives and safety become a priority, and that we end gun violence in our schools and in our communities. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by the Council of the City and County of Denver, Section 1, that the Council of the City and County of Denver stands in solidarity with the survivors of the Stoneman Douglas School in Florida, the survivors of gun violence here in our own communities, and with all students who are demonstrating tremendous courage to seek and enact change throughout the country. Section 2, that the clerk of the City and County of Denver shall attest and affix the seal of the City and County of Denver to this proclamation, and that a copy of this proclamation be transmitted to representatives for March for Our Lives Denver and to the students and faculty of Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida.
Thank you, Councilman Lopez. Your motion to adopt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that Proclamation 303, series of 2018, be adopted.
It has been moved and seconded. Comments, members of council. Councilman Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is with great pride that I read this proclamation here tonight. I was contacted by students that simply said, "Can you please pass the proclamation?" And we said yes. Normally, it takes a while and kind of have a process, but this is something that is near and dear to our hearts. This is something that we believe in. This is something that so many students from, I think almost every school that I can think of in my neighborhood walked out for. And, we've seen walkouts for political demonstrations and walkouts for expression so many different times for so many different causes. But this is the first time I've seen it like this. And we have to listen to our children. I've heard people say that, well, they're not old enough to vote. Why are they walking out? They should be in class. Social studies is best taught on the picket line, ladies and gentlemen. And we have to have the backs of our students. whether they're in elementary school or middle school or high school. I want to make it loud and clear in these chambers and in this city that to be a constituent, to have a voice in this city, you don't just have to be a voter. As a matter of fact, I mean, we don't encourage it, but you don't have to vote, and you still have a voice. We still represent you. To be quite honest, you could be someone that goes to the polls every year, that goes to every single caucus, and have been for decades. Or you can be a kindergartner at Castro Elementary in my district, and you have the same voice. And when those voices are saying, help us, please enact legislation or do something, please help us elevate our voices so people can hear our plea, and that's to keep our schools safe. You know, I didn't put this passage in this proclamation because we have a process that we respect, and we have to move it to committee, and every time there's something that we ask of another government entity, we do bring it to committee. But however, I'm going to do it right here on the podium because it's my free speech. We want the federal government to act. Congress needs to act. This president needs to act. Enough with the lip service, and let's start acting. Let's start taking, if we loved our kids just as much as we love our guns in this country, things would happen. And I saw a child that had, this is the cutest kid I've ever seen. Well, next to my daughter. Don't tell her that I said that. Had this little sign that said, literally, very simply written, bear hugs, not arms. And he was walking up and down, happy as can be, down out by Kepner Middle School. Powerful message. I couldn't be prouder to read this proclamation into the record and to ask my colleagues to support this proclamation moving forward. I urge people to attend these kind of rallies, these kind of actions. People need to see our action in mass, our demonstration in mass, and this does that. So I understand we have guests who are here today, who are survivors. We have students here today. We want to hear from you. I know you'll have an opportunity to come to the podium to receive this proclamation, but I just wanted to ask that my colleagues support this. Thank you for the time, Mr. President. Thank you for the consideration to file this proclamation late. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Councilman Lopez, for bringing it forward. This is incredibly important. Councilman Cashman?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Councilman Lopez, for bringing it forward. I'd like to ask the Secretary to add my name to the proclamation. You know, in all the discussion, especially over the past year or so about these ongoing mass shootings in our schools, a light bulb suddenly went on for me that thinking of all of the kids who have been born since Columbine, and that this is all they know. You know, when I was a kid, it was back in the days when we were afraid that Russia was going to drop a nuke, so we hid under our desk, and that never happened. And pretty soon, in the middle of our air raid drills, we'd be making jokes under our desks, and then we'd go back and play, and everything was fine. But I was sitting at a family dinner recently talking with my grandkids who are 13 and 11, and my granddaughter, the 13-year-old, is Asher's a powerful young woman, and she started crying because she said she gets afraid. It's not every day, but she gets afraid that someone's coming into her school. And she was crying because she was worried about her cousins who are 8 and 4, and that someone might go into their school. And so it just brought home to me the difference in my experience. I look at the numbers, and I think logically, as has been said, we have more work to do, and there's more work we will do. But I think of the numbers and the policies, and it just put me in touch with the fear that our young people live with every day. So I'll echo Councilman Lopez's urging that our state leaders and our federal leaders join us in doing more to protect our children. And thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman Cashman. Councilman Espinoza?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the names at the Senate. It was Senator Owen Hill, Senator Vicky Marbles, and Senator Jerry Sonnenberg. Those three people, of all the representatives at the State House, is who prevented it from going from a vote for Denver representatives to opine on that. And so that is the politics of our country, politics of our state, politics at every scale. So I just want you to remember those names because they're the ones that are not letting your representatives speak to this issue at the state level. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Espinoza. Councilwoman Ortega.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to ask the Council Secretary to add my name. And I just wanted to make one comment. I can remember after the shooting in Aurora, my grandson, I can't remember, gosh, this has been a number of years now, but he was afraid to go to the movies. And, you know, when we see our kids afraid to go to school for the same reasons, this is not the norm we should be accepting in the United States. You see in other countries, they have taken care of this issue where gun violence is not prevalent and it's not the norm. And we need to get to a place where everybody in our community feels safe. So, Councilman Lopez, thank you for bringing this forward to our youth, for your work in helping to bring this forward, and the work that youth across our city have done in mobilizing the walkout to make this message loud and clear that enough is enough. We hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kinich.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a number of democratic kind of engagement, democracy events on Saturday, so I will not be able to be at the march with you in person, but wanted you to know that I will be there in spirit. And I think for any of us who can't be there in person, to express that will be important so that the voice is louder and more unified. So thank you for bringing this forward, and good luck on Saturday raising your voices.
Thank you, Councilwoman Kinich. Seeing no other comments, my first work out of college was working with young people at Montbello High School. And it's the best work that I've ever done, because those young people taught me about life, leadership. And, you know, Bishop, there's a reason Jesus chose disciples, and they're all in high school. And one of the reasons is they don't have a mortgage. They don't have a job to report to. They don't care. They're going to live their passion, their truth every day. And I think this is a special time in our history where we need to be following these young people. And so I'm 100% supportive of this. Councilman Lopez, thank you for bringing this forward. I'll be supportive. I'll be marching. I was with a principal who was helping DSST Cole students organize. We got principals helping them organize to march out of school, because they see the leadership and the passion and the intelligence from these young folks. And so we as City Council stand with you all. Thank you so much for what you all have done in getting us to get to this level as adults, right? We're following you, so thank you. Madam Secretary, roll call.
Lopez.
Aye.
New. Ortega.
Aye.
Sussman. Black. Clark.
Aye.
Espinosa. Flynn.
Aye.
Herndon.
Aye.
Cashman.
Aye.
Kinich. Mr. President,
Aye. Please close the voting and announce results.
12 ayes.
12 ayes. Proclamation 303 has been adopted. Councilman Lopez, anybody want to bring up to speak?
Yes, I do want to bring up some of the students, Mr. T. Anderson, and if you want to also introduce to the speakers.
Thank you, Mr. President and City Council. Words, I'm speechless that you are the first city in our state to publicly give your support towards this initiative and standing with so many thousands of young people that are going to march on Saturday and letting them know that you hear them and enough is enough. We have with us today somebody who has survived one of these school shootings here in our state. And so I just want to make sure that we all know in this chamber that we have victims right here in Colorado that have went through this same situation. And Martin Luther King always had a dream that we would reach the mountaintop, but members and people in the audience, we haven't reached it. But us as young people are going to continue his dream. Thank you.
I wanted to thank you all, the City and Council of Denver, every single council member that stands before me, sits before me, for doing this. Councilman Espinoza, Councilman Ortega, your comments earlier about the senators who did not pass. We look at them as examples, but we don't have to worry as young people and as the movement, because if they don't want to listen to us in office, they don't have to, because they won't be in office. We will vote them out, and we will enact change. We will work civically, and we will make sure that our kids, our siblings, our family, our friends never have to worry about never coming home again. And I wanted to thank you because as a young person, seeing my parents, my grandparents who have worked hard, who have tried and have been unsuccessful, it is daunting as an 18-year-old to come before you and be working on this mission. But you give us hope. You drive the passion that we have because we see that our voices are being heard, and we know that we will not stop until we never have to worry about students never coming home, about teachers never coming home from their jobs, from their livelihoods ever again. So I wanted to thank you, all of you, from the bottom of my heart.
Council members, I'd just like to say that we've been saying amongst ourselves and in the public for a while that this isn't just a march and that this is a movement. And at the heart of that movement isn't just about reforming our gun laws, it's about ensuring the safety of our students and ensuring the well-being of the public. And I just got to say, from the bottom of my heart, to hear you all stand in solidarity with us, that just, it pulls in my heart. I just want to say thank you so much. And absolutely, you know, this is a youth-led movement, but that doesn't mean it's youth-exclusive. And just as my colleague Andrea said here, we fully intend to make sure that, you know, we may have grown up in the school shooting generation, but we want to make sure that we're the last ones that have to do that. And we're going to get there with your help. And just thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart. Truly.
I just wanted to express my thanks really quickly to Councilman Lopez for bringing this issue and helping us accelerate this issue, and also to Councilman Espinoza. It was great to have you in the Senate and testifying for these legislation that unfortunately did not pass but should have. And I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for your support and for supporting our cause. And I want you all to know that we will keep working because your support makes it so. Thank you.
Thank you.